afternoon, everybody entering the room today. My name is Amanda Rosewarne, and we're here for another CPD Standards fortnightly webinar, helping you and our huge global community of trainers and coaches through what is become the most unreal, unexpected and unbelievable year yet. Sorry, I'm a little bit muffled. It started to rain and hopefully you won't have too much feedback, but it's an absolute pleasure to be welcoming so many of you from all over the globe to join us for the session today. So thank you so much. For those of you that haven't met me before, as I said, I'm Amanda Rosewarne, the co-founder and current CEO of the CPD Standards Office. And we run these webinars as a mechanism of support, as a place for collaboration, conversation, and the opportunity to sort of bring ideas and thought leadership together across trainers, coaches, online educators, and teachers. And we're delighted every time we run this webinar to be doing it completely free of charge to both members and non-subscribers, subscribers, and basically enabling a place of discussion. And I'm really delighted to be welcoming a very good long-standing friend and member of ours, More to Life, who are going to be delivering the session today on trust. So a couple of housekeeping rules, if I may. First of all, I'm going to ask all of you to switch off your videos and put yourself on mute. The reason for that is, although we'd love to see your wonderful faces, we do upload these onto YouTube afterwards for public consumption, and it just makes life a little bit easier from the consent point of view if we don't have any other faces showing other than the presenters. Another quick point is that today we are focusing on trust and the story that Tanya is going to share with us from More to Life. And the chat function in these sessions is quite important. I know that kind of sounds quite obvious because obviously in any webinar or Zoom session, the chat function is important. But whenever you attend a face-to-face event with us here at CPD Standards, and we will be doing them again one day soon, we hope, you'll know that when you come into the room, we ask that mobile phones are switched off, laptops are put down, we have full concentration on our members that speak. And the reason for that is that, you know, we know that our members who are presenting, and indeed More to Life today, have got absolutely fantastic stories and content. So I would ask today that the chat is used to ask questions, make observations, or points, things like that. If there's anything else at all, then my wonderful colleague Kirsty will drop her email into the chat now, and you can drop her a note. So if you've got questions about your membership, about your assessment, whether this isn't coming up to standard or you're expecting something else, or whether you'd like to find out more about More to Life, then email us and message us directly. What we'd like the chat to be is the kind of central function around how we're going to run today's webinar. And those of you that have met me before know that I was once a university lecturer, and I'm absolutely draconian when I'm in the room about people having their mobile phones and laptops switched off, so we can fully concentrate on this. One thing I would ask you to do though is to open up your socials. Okay, so this is an opportunity for a group of us to come together this afternoon. So open up your LinkedIn, your Twitter, whatever handles you use, and make connections, because that is what we're here to foster. We want to get trainers and coaches and online educators talking. At the moment, we're in a really interesting phase. And I was just sort of reflecting on this earlier before I thought about, you know, what we were going to really be discussing on the webinar today. I don't know if any of you saw the Queen's speech yesterday at the State Opening of Parliament, but she particularly focused on the importance of employability and learning, and that there's going to be legislation around lifetime skills guarantees, and the opportunity and the market now for training providers who are in the adult sort of skills development, lifelong learning, you know, anybody sort of age 25 upwards. The market is absolutely huge. And I think, you know, the pandemic has come along and it's knocked us all sideways, CPD standards included, you know, knocked us to bits. And then those of us that have, you know, stood our ground, been innovative, been creative, as I know so many of you have as face-to-face training providers, you know, we've tried to help face-to-face providers, especially every step along the way, to basically make sure that you stay in business in some form or shape online. But what we've got now coming with this great certainty of the government's roadmap unraveling and all of this good news that's happening is great possibilities. We've seen the online learning market go from being valued at something like 300 billion to some ridiculous number in the trillions. There's a huge thirst for online learning. Lots of people in lockdown learning all sorts of new skills, but also, you know, coming together in situations like this on Zoom is just a new way of people consuming learning and education. And certainly if somebody had told me 18 months ago that I would be doing a weekly or fortnightly webinar to a group of people, literally looking at the camera on my computer screen and not being able to see anybody's faces, and knowing that there were, you know, 10, 50, 100, 200, whatever dialed in, I've been absolutely mortified. But, you know, I think it's given us good CPD for all of us. So I would really encourage you today to listen and think about trust. Because to me, and when I talk to other training providers and coaches and educators, what you do and what you position with your courses and your learning is trust. You're saying, come to me, I will teach you about X, Y, and Z, and I am a trusted training provider. So I think, you know, that's really important to sort of keep in mind. Dawn has asked, how does what the Queen's speech has impact those of us who have only global clients that's relevant to UK businesses? It's a really good point, Dawn. Well, you know, the government has an international strategy for business. They, you know, the whole government legislation strategy will roll out through the Commonwealth, and everybody looks to the UK still these days as being a sort of bastion for education. So, you know, you may be based in the UK, you may be based overseas. I mean, we have providers in over 40 countries, but the time is now for online learning, and that doesn't matter wherever you are in the world. But certainly if you are based in the UK, then there is going to be an inordinate amount of funding and opportunity coming along. So I think, you know, it's just relatively good news. Anyway, as I said, any other questions, any other observations, do please put them through. But for now, I'm delighted to hand over to our speaker, Tanya and Rosanna today from More to Life, and hear their story. So thank you ever so much.
Well, thank you, Amanda and Kirsty, for welcoming so graciously. And yeah, for those of you that are all present and here, you know, thank you for being present, and thank you for joining us today. And I know obviously it's going to be recorded, and there's going to be a number of people presumably watching it afterwards as well. So yeah, so let's get started. So I'm going to be presenting today, and Rosanna is sort of partnering me, so she might be coming in and checking in with your chats, and also maybe asking me questions as well, and all of that. So I'm going to share my screen. I've got a slideshow presentation. So Rosanna, I can't see you on my screen right now. Let me just double check. Can you? Oh, I can't see the chat either. I'm hoping that you can see this, but I can't see the chat now because I'm obviously looking at.
We can see your screen, Tanya.
Great, thank you. That's all I needed. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. Okay, so let me just put this up here, and let me just move this down. Just bear with me a second. Just move things around on my screen. So Control not ultimate control over, obviously, just control over what I need. So, yeah, so I'm Tanya Lloyd, and this presentation is called The Journey of Learning to Trust Myself as a Female Entrepreneur, and how Mortar Life has basically supported my success. So I'm a personal brand photographer and coach, and yeah, let's get started. So welcome to my presentation, and I want to introduce you to myself as an entrepreneur and to Mortar Life and how it's supported my journey, and also how using the tools of Mortar Life have enabled me to trust myself and create a successful business. And the purpose of this talk is to share my story and how Mortar Life has been hugely beneficial in supporting my entrepreneurial success, and also to motivate and inspire you to question whether Mortar Life could support you in your life and business. And trust is at the theme and the heart of this presentation. And we will explore how Mortar Life has supported me to continually trust myself throughout my 20-year career as a successful, might be a bit of a tongue twister, as a successful female entrepreneur. So, who am I? And why am I talking to you today about this subject? So, this is a little bit about my career journey. I've been a photographer for 25 years, starting in London, and now I live in Glossop in Derbyshire, which, if you don't know where Glossop is, it's in between Sheffield and Manchester. If you ever listen to Radio 2, they talk about the Snake Pass being closed. Glossop's on one end of it. I've photographed everything from the Queen through to drain pipes and everything in between. But 2 years ago, I niched down into being a personal brand photographer, and I'll be talking a little bit more about why I did that. And I'm currently developing and adapting myself and my business to offer coaching to female entrepreneurs. So, what is Mortar Life? Well, Mortar Life is a global charity, and it offers a programme of experiential learning courses designed to awaken your inner power, potential and purpose. And they provide tools for life to transform the quality of your life. And these courses, of course, which is why we're here, are accredited by the CPD. The purpose for the team are all volunteers, and the team create the weekend, and their purpose is to facilitate the mental, emotional and spiritual transformation of each participant. So I started my Mortar Life journey back in 2003, and I took the Mortar Life weekend back then. And back then it was actually called Life Training. So the company has rebranded itself since then, but so I did my first course with them back in 2003, and at that time I was working within the photographic department of the London Fire Brigade. I was at their headquarters on the Thames, and I did the Mortar Life weekend because I wanted to gain more confidence to actually leave that full-time job and go freelance as a photographer. So that's the reason why I kind of turned up at the doors, not really quite knowing what I was going to be getting. But boy, did I get so much more than that. Let me just check where I am on here. Just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, just checking where I am. So it was such a humbling experience. What I realized from that weekend is that all of us are unique, but yet we're all kind of the same in some ways. We all often want the same things. We all want to be understood, We all want to be heard. We all want to be loved. You know, what more is there? You know, often, you know, just even the saying more to life, often, you know, it might be quite common for you or for others that you've heard or had conversations with, you know, there must be more to life than this, must be more to life. And so, you know, the More to Life weekend, it woke me up. It kind of awoke me to looking at things that I wanted for my life. So that's the start really of me kind of like, what do I want? What do I want? What do I really kind of want for myself? And one of the biggest and the first things that I got from the More to Life weekend was about noticing. You know, noticing, you know, what do I internally say to myself? What do I say to others? And it can really show us what we think of ourselves. You know, I often, when I'm working with my clients, when they speak and they say certain things, I think, oh, no, don't say that about yourself. That's not very nice. You know, we often, it's just like, it can often be automatic, but within what happens on the More to Life weekend, there's very much a tool for noticing. Yeah, which is quite a big, I think, quite a big thing that happens on the weekend. It kind of wakes us up to our automaticity. Quite a big word, that. And probably a word that I didn't really quite know what it meant back then. But, you know, it wakes us up to all the ways we are behaving, you know, during our day, you know, which we aren't even aware of, really. You know, how do we feel? You know, getting in touch with how we feel. You know, what is it that we're doing? You know, what behaviors are we actually doing? You know, what are we eating? What are we drinking? What are we saying? Often a lot of our behavior and a lot of the things we do and say are automatic because we've just done them. We're just kind of like in this groove. And so the More to Life weekend is very much a waking up experience, waking up, you know, it's, yeah, it certainly was for me. That was definitely my experience. So, you know, how does the More to Life weekend help people wake up? Well, you know, often, you know, people are flatlining. You know, are you living the life that you want? Or, you know, have you just settled? And one of the big themes that run throughout the weekend as part of the noticing are discipline. There's a set of we have disciplines within the weekend. And, you know, I mean, what does discipline mean to you? Well, you know, to me, what I realise now, having done the More to Life weekend specifically, is it's not about having rules forced upon us or forced upon me, but about loving ourselves enough that we keep to the commitments that we set out for ourselves. So since my More to Life weekend, obviously that's going back to 2003, since then, like straight away, I dived straight into being a volunteer. I call it played. I played on team. I've probably done about 20 teams. I've led the teams, I don't know, maybe 5 times or so. You know, the teams are often pretty big. They can be sort of 40, 50 people. So I've been heavily involved. I wanted to be involved straight away because I just thought, gosh, I just wanted to soak it up like a sponge. I just thought this stuff is brilliant. So yes, I've volunteered my time on teams, you know, supporting the creation of the courses. And I've also taken a huge plethora of different courses. I've done courses in America that have been residential courses. I've done weekend focus courses, like there's a focus course about money, sexuality, spirituality. They've got so many different courses. There's kind of something there in a way for everyone. And I've done quite a few of them, and all of the time that I've spent, I've just absolutely loved it. And in 2017, I became a teacher of one of the courses, which is called Power of Purpose. And that's a course that runs over either 2 weekends or over 6 weeks. And like many of the courses, that particular course is CPD accredited as well. And it focuses on purpose, but it also teaches people how do we get in our own way. So yeah, we can have goals and we can be goal setting, but often the issue that is not addressed when we're goal setting or when we're having problems with goal setting is, well, what is the reason why we're not achieving that goal? And that particular course it's absolutely brilliant. And last year, I got accepted as a More to Life champion, which basically means that I'm able to use many of the tools professionally now, so I can actually use them in my business with my clients, which is kind of a dream come true, really. You know, maybe 5 years ago, I didn't think that was possible, but you know, it's really massively acknowledging of me. So yeah, I'm really chuffed that I've got that. So just bear with me as I just check in where I am. Yeah. Bear with me a sec. Yeah, so how has More to Life supported my career? You know, what's been a constant throughout my career has been More to Life, because obviously, you know, I went freelance back in like the year after I did my More to Life weekend. So actually, as a freelance photographer, I've had More to Life in my life the whole time. It's been in the background. So what do I love most about More to Life and the teachings and the tools? Bear with me a second. Oh, that's right. Helps if I use the right button. So it's supported me to come home to my truth and not listen to the lies. That is massive. There's something just very, you know, I think often our minds can trick us and try and keep us safe by scaring us with certain things ahead. We might scare ourselves about the future, or we might lie about what happened before. And a lot of the tools of More to Life, they enable people, and they certainly have enabled me to come home to my truth all the time. So it could be that I'm noticing that I'm feeling quite stressed or quite scared, and I can actually look at, using certain tools, I can look at it on pen and paper and go, well, but that's a lie. That's not true. That's not going to happen, because, you know, so it's just very useful, a really useful tool. You know, I can be honest. It helps me to be really honest with myself. By telling the truth, I can just be really honest with myself, and very real with myself about, well, okay, so now that that's not true, now what do I choose? So yeah, so with this, you know, it helps to distinguish fact from what's fake. Change. You know, I realise often, you know, being honest, it means that I can do something to change an element of my life, an element of my business that's not working, an element of my personal life that's not working. You know, and as it says here, you know, if you change nothing, then nothing will change. And, you know, for the tricky little mind, the little critter in our mind that often tries to scare us, it's much, you know, it prefers to stay where it is because that feels safe, which is, you know, again, it's the lies of trying to keep us safe. You know, or also, you know, when I need to push myself out of my comfort zone. You know, when we move out of our comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. And so our mind often does try and keep us in that comfort zone and in that safe space. But actually, you know, often our dreams and the things that we really want for ourselves that we don't even dare think or say out loud, they're on the other side of the comfort zone. Yeah. You know, and the tools have allowed me to be guided by life, listen to life. It's not necessarily about, you know, oh, let's just go with the flow, because, you know, there's something kind of quite passive about that, but it's more about, okay, you know, it's that noticing tool, it's that waking up tool that I've learned through More to Life, which, you know, sometimes the kind of the not necessarily the triggers, but, you know, the signs become louder and louder. And so I've used, you know, I've been guided by life quite a lot throughout my my career by having the tools. So in those moments of uncertainty, you know, how do I use the tools? Well, what do I use them for? Well, to make decisions. There are many different tools. Now, I mean, my purpose here today is not to teach you these tools, and it's also not to give you this big long list of all the different tools, because in some ways you have to experience the courses to get them. But you know, but I do want to talk about what differences it made to me and my journey. And so, yeah, it's really helped me to make decisions. And also to know, you know, what my next step is. You know, again, some of the tools are very specific. They really look at result, you know, the result you want to create. So you kind of go, right, well, if I want to create that result, what action steps am I going to need to do? So it's kind of quite, you know, it's like the SMART thing, but I think it just goes a lot deeper. And I'll be talking about the results process a bit later. So just bear with me, just checking out where I am. It helps me to get out of my own way. You know, again, we can often scare ourselves, can't we, and put ourselves, give ourselves very good reasons to not do things or procrastinate. And so again, you know, when we're able to get back in touch with our truth, you know, it can stop us from having to, you know, putting those brakes on all the time. You know, and choosing. I mean, that's the thing. It's like we notice, we can then tell the truth, and then we can make a new choice. And these are all things that I'm very aware of because of all the things that I've learned through More to Life. So, you know, it could be that I change tack or direction, or make a different choice. You know, something's not working. And sometimes it's great to just be really, you know, truthful and honest with ourselves, I think. Also, it's supported me to get in touch with my deep wants and my passions and my dreams for myself, my business, my life, you know, in all areas of my life. It's been huge to have More to Life, to give me that guidance. So I want to talk a little bit more now about, you know, being an entrepreneur. Now, this is from my point of view. This might not be the case for everyone. But, you know, I think there are some common themes that come up when you're an entrepreneur. And I think, you know, a classic mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make is they think they know it all. And that was definitely me, you know, until I kind of realized that I was quite stuck, not really knowing where to turn or what to do next in terms of growing my business. I've always, you know, I photograph lots of different things, and there's been elements of, you know, massive sort of financial success, and also, you know, there's been lenient times as well, like there is with every kind of freelance person. But yeah, you know, it's just really helped me to. Oh, hang on, sorry, I was slightly distracted then with something that went on the screen. Just bear with me a second. So yeah, you know, I've always wanted to grow my business. I've always wanted to adapt my business slightly. And I think this is probably the case for a lot of people who've got their own businesses, you know, and, you know, like most entrepreneurs, I've been very stubborn. You know, I've wanted to be successful on my own and to prove to myself that I could be successful. And it almost seemed like a sign of weakness to reach out to others for business support. But when I finally did, my business changed direction. I got clarity, and I started to understand my deep purpose. And that's when I started looking at my why. Now, if any of you've probably heard of Simon Sinek, you know, the why is just massive. It's everywhere. You can watch TED Talks about it. And, you know, it wasn't really until I started getting support from elsewhere that I started really honing in on my why. But again, it was the tools of More to Life that supported me to see that actually I need to be honest with myself. Yeah, just because the thing is, like, just because you've, you know, for me, just because I've always done certain things the same way doesn't mean that's the best way of doing them. And also having a deep reason why you want something will give you more powerful result. You know, and More to Life has taught me so much about this, getting really deeply in touch with why I want something. You know, yeah, well, you want that. Okay, so why do you want that? Right, so why do you want that? And going deeper and deeper and deeper. You know, it's that depth that has been very powerful for me in moving on to the next thing and knowing what's next. So when I finally got business support, you know, my business changed direction, got clarity, you know, and I started to understand my deep purpose, and I started looking at why, as I've said. And also trusting myself. You know, even though I didn't know what was on the other side of being uncomfortable, I had to step outside of my comfort zone and try new things and not know really if there would be a success. And, you know, what I realized, you know, life was giving me messages, and it was you know, so many people kept telling me, you know, get a business coach. And I was like, no, you know, I can't afford it. No, I can't afford it. You know, no one else knows my business like me. You know, why would I listen to someone else? And I had lots of all of that. And actually, you know, the tools of More to Life really supported me to get in touch with my truth. And, you know, that, you know, basically I can't do this journey successfully alone. So as an entrepreneur, would you like to be able to trust yourself and your path ahead? Well, I certainly wanted to. You know, and one of the biggest blocks I've experienced as a female entrepreneur, and this might be quite similar for guys too, is about trusting myself. You know, I think it's very common for entrepreneurs to get stuck and overwhelmed because obviously we're so busy, you know, bogged down with the daily tasks. You know, it's easy to lose sight of the overall picture. You know, why am I doing this in the first place? You know, and we see there is a place we want to be that we don't know just how to get to. You know, and what success looks like at each stage may be different, but we're not sure how to change. So More to Life tools have had an instant impact. They have instant impact when you use them. You know, there's a bit of a saying in More to Life, you know, the work, it works, but only when you do the work. You know, you can kind of like cognitively like, you know, oh yeah, you know, you can do that process is brilliant, it works. If you don't actually do it, then it doesn't work. But when you do get pen to paper, or, you know, some of the processes are not always with pen to paper either. Some of them are more physical. Where you might just stand and you might be just talking. So yeah, More to Life tools, you know, when I take myself out of the moment, just stop, take myself out of the moment and connect with my feelings and get in touch with what's on my mind, you know, it can really have a big impact. You know, and this can happen even daily. I use these tools not every single day, but sometimes I can use them daily. I certainly use them weekly, monthly. I use them in my personal life, and I use them in my business. So what's been the impact in my career of having More to Life at the heart of everything I do? Well, I've continually developed my mindset. I'm a mindset sponge. You know, I don't think we can learn enough about mindset. And I don't think it's a case of, okay, now I know that about mindset now, I'm just going to move on to the next thing. I think mindset continually, it's almost like something that needs to be fed, you know, something that you need to keep feeding positive, whether it's affirmations or whatever. So I've continually developed my mindset and my self-belief. I leave no stone unturned, because it's too easy to think the same thoughts. But when we challenge our minds, what our minds are saying and lying and scaring us with, we can make new choices. We can take new risks, and we can go outside of our comfort zone beyond what we think is possible for us. You know, when we learn how to love ourselves, acknowledge ourselves fully with all that we do, and learn to celebrate ourselves as well, and not just criticize ourselves and judge ourselves, we can create a new reality of life that, you know, that we might actually thought was impossible. And, you know, Mortal Life has taught me all about how to fully love myself, which I don't know how that sounds to you. That might sound a bit woo-woo, I don't know, but, you know, it's all, you know, it's quite common, isn't it, for it to be known, you know, in order to love others, you need to love yourself first. But I think it's so easy just to kind of be going on to the next thing and on to the next thing, and not be acknowledging what we're actually doing. And, you know, I mean, Mortal Life has even got a process called the Self-Acknowledgement Process, which is, you know, a tool to stop and go, wow, I did this thing. What did it take? What did I break through? What were the beliefs that I broke through? You know, it's just, there's just so many different tools. And, you know, from time to time I use, you know, lots of different ones. I've taken risks and trusted myself, even though I didn't know what the outcome would look like. You know, sometimes we just have to take our first step into the unknown, which can be enough to give you the courage, you know, to follow your heart. And intuition is often more important than following your head, because your head will probably go, no, you don't want to do that, that's not going to work. But your heart might be like, no, I really want to do that. And so sometimes it is about, you know, trusting our heart and trusting our intuition. And, you know, as a female entrepreneur, you know, I'm still learning how to do my business, you know, from a feminine space, which can be so much more supportive for me than the normal masculine way of doing business, you know, which is often about pushing, dominating, you know, plowing through regardless. You know, instead, you know, it's important for me to sometimes just let go, actually, and surrender, and allow without any expectation, and see what opens up ahead. It kind of has a different feel to it. It's more light and more easy, without the pressure. I know for me, my journey as a female entrepreneur has actually become quite spiritual because of the you know, just letting go of how it has to be, how to control everything. Because I mean, gosh, how, you know, we know now that we can't really control that much, can we, apart from ourselves and our mindset. You know, there's all sorts of stuff going on out there, you know, in the world, especially at the moment. So so for me, you know, it is about surrendering sometimes and allowing life to guide me. And, you know, my mindset, if my mindset is not in the right place, everything else will be out of kilter. So it's vital for me that I have a daily practice which sets up my day, as well as go-to tools, which obviously are my Mortal Life tools when I need them. I have a morning routine. I get up at 6 every morning, I meditate, I do affirmations, I do journaling, and I've got a dog, Coco, so I listen to motivational and inspirational podcasts or audible books every day. It's kind of, I'm like feeding this positive. It's not about kind of like, you know, being all happy clappy necessarily. It's about, you know, I know that you know, it takes me a lot of motivation to continue. You know, I've been a freelance person for like 18 years now, so I need to feed my soul and my mind positive stuff. Yeah, you know what they say, what comes in also comes out. So, you know, if you're feeding your mind with negative stuff, then that will have an impact too. And so More to Life has massively helped me with that. So bear with me a sec. So how does this positively impact how I work with people? Well, you know, business is all about money, right? Well, yeah, of course it is. But, you know, for me, it's about building relationships. It's about creating relationships. It's not about a transaction. You know, it's not transactional for me. It's about building relationships. And it's about me selling from my heart. So a lot of my clients, so I support my clients with a lot of this kind of stuff too. I pass all of this stuff on to my clients. So selling it can be quite a challenging kind of concept for a lot of entrepreneurs, especially female entrepreneurs who are really passionate about what they do. They love their clients, but actually, oh no, they don't like selling. No, I don't want to do selling. But actually, the thing is, when we sell with authenticity or from our heart, with honesty, with love, then it's kind of, it's all right then, you know, because it's not selling. It's like you are giving people the ability to choose. You're offering, you know, it's about serving your clients rather than selling to them. You know, with my clients, you know, many of my clients, you know, obviously I photograph people, you know, the end result is that I will photograph them. I take them on a journey because, you know, a lot of especially female entrepreneurs are very self-conscious. Most of us are self-conscious. It doesn't matter how confident we are in what we do. We might be expert in our field, like beavering away in the background as accountants, as coaches, whatever it is that we do. But actually, when it comes to promoting ourselves and again selling ourselves, there's often a block that a lot of women have because they don't want to be the face of their business. And actually, it's really important as an entrepreneur to be seen, to show people who you are. And so part of what I work with my clients is I empower them, but also emotionally I support them with their mindset, because a lot of women are, you know, scared about how they look, scared about how they're aging. You know, women might be menopausal and be forgetting things. They might, you know, there's all sorts of things, and you know, guys will have stuff going on too. You know, this isn't exclusive to women, but you know, often many of us are very self-conscious around a camera, and also obviously promoting ourselves. And so a lot of what I've learned through More to Life, I feed back into, I pass it on, basically. I pass it on to my clients. You know, even within a conversation, it's not like I sit down and go, right, I'm going to take you through this process. They don't necessarily know the context behind it. They don't need to know, but often I will support them maybe with the language that they might be sharing about their fears, and supporting them to tell the truth as well. How are we doing on time? Okay, guessing we are. Where am I in here? Let me just bear with me. Yeah, so, you know, a lot of my clients and me, we have a very common language and common values. And yeah, I mean, that's why most of the people, you know, I'm out there on social media a lot, and I'm very vulnerable, I'm very real, I'm very authentic. And so, you know, in some ways, I'm not doing that manipulatively to attract people in. I'm just being me, and you know, because of that common language, I think my social media is quite successful. I'm really pleased with how it's gone. You know, so yeah, I'm really authentic throughout all my marketing. I have a lot of women particularly, you know, come up to me and they'll say, I love everything that you're putting out, love everything that you're about. And so that kind of makes my heart sing, because I think, right, okay, I'm being me, and it's working, which is brilliant, which is in a way the best way to be on social media, I think. And I know a lot of, you know, this could go into a big conversation, which I won't go into, but this is a big conversation that I do have with a lot of my clients, because obviously visibility on social media is important for a lot of my clients, and it's something that they struggle with, so I do support them with that. So yeah, you know, I am still building my business. I don't think I've stopped building my business. It's like, you know, I left art college as a photographer in 2000, you know, it's like 21 years ago. I haven't had children. I could have had a 21-year-old daughter, but I don't have a business. But, you know, it's, I'm still building my business, you know, but for me, it's not about the money. You know, it's about the overall impact that I have in the world. I know it sounds like a big thing, but, you know, on my clients, like if I have, you know, that it's really important to me that, you know, so how does this help my clients? Well, you know, I've talked about, you know, a lot of my clients have issues around visibility. In some ways, we all have issues around visibility. You know, the challenge for many of us is that we have this kind of comparisonitis going on. If we've got our, you know, if we're an entrepreneur and we're seeing other people who are doing brilliant things and look so confident, and it can be quite challenging, because it's like if you're comparing yourself to them, then you're kind of off to a bit of a bad start, really. So, you know, it is, again, you know, the tools of More to Life have really supported me to be really truthful and honest with myself. But also there is a reality that a lot of the people that are out there doing it full on, really confidently, know what they look like, they know what they're doing. You know, often the truth is that they've got coaches that are teaching them how to do that. You know, and if you've never had a coach, then, you know, it's no wonder that you don't, you know, that there are things to learn, I guess, about, you know, visibility and about putting yourself out there. So yeah, you know, I support my clients with their yearnings, with their goals, which, you know, helps them bring their, you know, bring what they want for themselves, their why, to the fore. You know, and I do this all before we do a photo shoot, because I think, you know, it's easy to just kind of go, yeah, you know, let's just round them up and let's just like, next, let's just get them in the studio. No. I mean, obviously I do location stuff too, but actually the more work I can do with people way before they have a photo shoot, the more confident they are and the more at ease they are with themselves. You know, trust, you know, it's at the center of who I am, and how I work with my clients, you know, so that they can become more visible and promote themselves and their businesses. You know, it's about trusting yourself and your heart. So where am I now? Well, you know, I do feel fulfilled in my heart and my soul. You know, there's more to do. You know, I'm not finished yet. I was 52 weeks ago, so I'm only halfway through. Financially, I had my best year to date, but that was just before lockdown. So since lockdown, it's been a little bit more tricky for obvious reasons. I've not been out photographing as much as I could have been, but this last year I have worked a lot with a lot of my clients on Zoom, doing all of their preparation work for their mindset to get them out there. So, you know, and I have a clear picture of where I'm headed, to create a coaching arm to my business, alongside my branding photography. And I am really excited for my future. Who knows where it will lead? Because that's the thing, we don't have control over everything, do we? But we can be intentional about the things that we want. You know, and I think this is really important. You know, when we have a business, we can make such a big impact. So it's up to us to make it count, I think. And if we push ourselves beyond what we think is the norm, there is no way of knowing where it can lead. It just takes the first step and trusting. You know, I mean, I could almost cry, like, you know, trusting yourself and your heart. It's so important. And here we are, we're kind of coming towards the end. Yeah, literally the last 3 slides. You know, if more to life sounds like something that could support you in your life, here's the info. I know Rosanna has this info, she can put it in the chat if that's how you're doing it. If you're not doing that way and you're doing it through CPD, that's cool. And this is information of mine, if anyone wants to talk to me. I've got Facebook links, I've got free top 10 tips on overcoming your fear of a photo shoot. And finally, you know, I hope you've enjoyed the presentation today and it's given you some food for thought in your business. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, Tanya. That was really thought-provoking. I've made all sorts of notes whilst we've been talking, and there's certainly been some comments and things in the chat, but listening to you speak, you know, really resonated with me particularly, from this whole trusting in yourself. You know, and you mentioned, you know, feeding your soul and having a daily routine that just kind of gets you on track and centered. And I know, and having spoken to so many coaches and trainers over the past year, you know, the concept of our daily routine has just changed entirely through lockdown. So, you know, what was an old routine that we'd all been through for years, you know, Monday to Friday, commute, work, etc., etc., it's all changed. And so it's really, really helpful. Thank you. We've got a few questions and a few points that have been made on the chat, but I think one question I'd like to ask first, we've got about 10 minutes or so before we finish, is if you had one tip for anybody who's a trainer or a coach or an online educator out there with terms in terms of thinking about how to really get, you know, better trust in yourself, feeling more positive, more vibrant, having that good mindset, if you had one tip, what would it be?
Well, the first question, shall I stop sharing my screen and bring us back?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, it's nice to see you. Hello, Rosanna. I couldn't see you on the thing. One tip. My gosh, one tip. Invest in yourself. I mean, I think, you know, it's funny because I don't know why I did this. There was a specific reason for it, but last year I worked out how much I'd spent on personal development. I'd spent 10 grand. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
No, and you know, to some people, because you can spend more than that on a course. I mean, you know, this isn't like huge bucks, but given that I've not been like an overly inflated, you know, business, you know, I think it's not about the money, but it's about, you know, the biggest investment you can make in your business is into you, is feeding you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, that resonates right to the heart of.
Well, doesn't it? Isn't that perfect?
Standard. Yeah, I mean, we, you know, whenever we sort of start working with anybody, any individual, any provider, we look at, well, what are you offering in terms of education or a course, but also who are you? You know, what do you do? What's your experience? What indirectly, what CPD do you do to make you good at, you know, delivering this? So that's a really good tip. Thank you. Okay, so Rosanna, I know you've collected a few questions together potentially, but we've got a little bit tight on time. So one of the ones that's really stood out to me is Kirsty has said, really agree about the importance of visibility, but how do you reconcile this with the prevalence of, you know, trolling and hate messaging and all this misogyny we see on social media? You know, how do we get ourselves out there and be visible, but also protect ourselves from the wrong kind of attention?
Well, so that, I mean, there's a reality. So I've got a business coach who teaches me about visibility, and actually we did a visibility training, and the reality is the more visible you become, the bigger you become, and the more likely you will be trolled.
Yeah.
And it's actually par for the course.
Yes.
Now, that's not what people actually want to hear. And this is about being honest and about being truthful. And, you know, it's that the thing is, it's very easy for people sat at home on their phones to judge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know whether any of you have watched Brené Brown's TED Talk on visibility. Oh, I've got goosebumps. It's just like,
we'll find the link, send it to everybody.
Well, what she says is, so she talked, because obviously many of us have heard of Brené Brown, some of us haven't. Do you know who I'm talking about, Amanda?
Yeah, I know the name, but I've not.
Yeah, well,
I'm a bit from my side, you know, I've got, you know, and I know, so there's another comment come up in the chat, you know, there's been all this opportunity to spend so much money on all, you know, personal development, and Dawn's made a comment of, you know, why wouldn't you, you know, make more money back from investing at least 50,000? And I think, you know, for many people, sometimes cash is the difficulty, but for people it's time.
Yes.
You know, and I think, you know, I represent and probably stand in line with many other training businesses and owners, and, you know, who are mothers and carers and this and that. And so you've got this list of things that you want to do, like this TED Talk and things you see. You've got the money to spend, and it doesn't matter if it's £100, £1,000 or £100,000. It's just like, wow, you know, I might not be commuting anymore, but my God, I'm spinning a lot of plates. So anyway, sorry, back to your point.
Yeah, well, I guess just the visibility thing, Brené Brown sort of she says that, you know, if you're not in the arena like she is, I don't want your feedback. And that's not like I mean, it sounds like a total diss, but it's like, if you're not doing what I'm doing, and you're not, you just don't know. Like, if you have like you know, feedback that's really useful to me about how I can improve or something, like, brilliant, give it to me. But otherwise, you just don't know. Like,
yeah, a kind of eloquent way of saying talk to the hand, because the
face it is. Yeah, it really is. And she doesn't swear. She's really polite. It's just great. But it's
Okay. All right, Rosanna, are there any questions that you've sort of picked up and you'd like to highlight in the last sort of few minutes that we've got? Anything in particular? I mean, there's a lot of people really supporting, you know, what you're saying, and it resonating with you, with them. Sorry.
Will I get to see the chat later? Because I've not looked at the chat.
Yeah. We'll download the chat and we'll send it over. And what we often do is, if everybody's interested, we can put together, with the recording, we can put together a PDF that we send out with the recording, you know, with just your tips on, and you know, any sort of recommendations for reading and TED Talks and that sort of thing.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And, you know, it's all about, see, I say to my team, you know, every day is a CPD day. This is a CPD conversation for everybody.
Yeah.
So, but I think, you know, for trainers, it's been, and those in the, you know, in this industry, the carpet has been ripped from under most people's feet. And if you're an entrepreneur and
yes,
parents, or, you know, whatever it is, it's been such a shift.
Yes,
you know, we're all a bit more familiar with it now. We're a year down the line and on Zoom and all the rest of it, but it's been a huge shift for so many people. I love the comment, mindset is something you need to feed. I like that as a mindset shift. You don't do it as a one-off, it's an ongoing practice.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So last comment has been very powerful takeaways. Thank you so much, Tanya. A great session. So thank you again for your time and for sharing, you know, your journey, and you know, the ups and the downs and trials and tribulations, but also, you know, the strength and the, I suppose, the confidence that More to Life, the course, gave you, and the platform, you know, on which you now kind of stand. And it's been really, really interesting and intriguing to hear about how you've managed to kind of channel all of that to success. So thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you for inviting us and having us here.
It's a great pleasure. Okay, well, thanks ever so much, everybody, for joining us. It's been a wonderful hour. I keep saying to everybody, you know, and everybody's laughing, but I'm repeating it because it's in the science journals, Zoom fatigue is real. So, you know, close down, maybe open up your socials and connect with people. We can make sure other people are connected. If there's somebody asked a question on here that you've not connected with, then that's fine. But please shut down and take yourself to the kitchen, get yourself a drink, go for a walk. The weather's reasonable, and let's just take a couple of minutes to think about what we've just listened to, because the best CPD, the best learning we do when we're in collaboration like this is not just the conversation, it's the reflective piece afterwards. So yes, I'm off for a cup of tea, and thank you ever so much to Rosanna and Tanya, and to everybody for joining us. And we'll be in touch soon on another session. So take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.